the flow?
Yeah, I
change?
will,
Okay,
for sure.
perfect.
Okay, so I've been watching some of the webinars that are going on, some of the amazing panels here for Writing Sessions America, and they've been incredible, and I've seen a lot of you on some of those panels. So I see that you all know a lot of stuff, and this morning at the panel, a lot of amazing questions were being asked. And on Gail's panel, she spoke a lot about what I was going to discuss today. So I've decided I would really like to open the floor up for the entire time to Q&A, which I prefer much better, and throw questions at me and let me try to help you in that way and serve you in a Q&A way, because I could see everybody had so many questions and so many of them didn't get answered, and it's my favorite thing to do. So if you want me to lecture on something, I can as well. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Michelle Weiss-Maslin. I should actually rename my my thing here. So one sec, let me just do that so everybody can get my name. And I'm so excited to be here. The music I've heard has been incredible. The videos were cool last night. And basically, I'm a songwriter, producer, music publisher. I speak on lots of panels. I'm an educator. I teach classes, and I pitch songs every day. I have a brand new major label release out with Jonathan Butler, the South African artist with jazz who's very famous, and I have had hit songs all over the world, and I've had over 5,000 music placements. Almost all of them I've pitched directly myself, and so I'm not special. I'm just a regular person writing songs and producing songs like everybody, and I am just out there hustling. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I don't only write for sync, I write songs for major artists. I don't write that much with indie artists. I mean, I write with them sometimes, but I'm not very, my business model doesn't focus much on do-it-yourself self-releasing, but I do know so much about it and can help answer questions about that. And so I can answer questions pretty much about anything about music publishing, licensing, record labels, production, anything not tech. So I am not the person you want to come to for anything tech. My tech skills suck. So that's basically where I am, and I'm so excited to get some questions. So anybody who wants to answer questions, you can put them in the chat, but it's probably better, Gypsy, if we let them come on mic and ask them. I think that's more fun and interactive for everybody. So let's all mute everyone who's not, because it's very noisy right now. Everybody who's not speaking, let's mute, and let's start with some questions. So is Gypsy still here?
Yes, I am.
Great. So Gypsy, do you want to help? Do you want to field some people to come?
As you guys use the raise hand feature, I will call your names and ask you to unmute so that you can ask your question.
Perfect. So let's start. Let's go for it. And hopefully questions will bring other questions, because it'll all make you think, oh, wow, more about that.
Yes. The first person we have up is Ariane Nicole.
Okay. Come on, Cameron.
Hi.
Say hi. I can't see you. Hi.
Okay, you see me?
Now I see you. Right on. Okay. Yeah.
So you answered a question for me, I believe. Over with Gail, you talked about, I think we were talking about the difference between ASCAP and BMI.
Yeah.
And
I don't see you.
Oh.
Hold on, am I still here?
Yeah, I hear you. So yeah,
okay.
About ASCAP and BMI.
Okay, so the difference between ASCAP and BMI, and gosh, did I lose my question? No, so I learned that I should probably, according to my situation, switch over to BMI. But my question is, when it comes to performing rights organizations, which is what those two are, how does that help us in the placement world?
Okay, well, it helps us in the placement world because that's how we're getting paid. So the PROs are what are paying us. So they pay performing rights. So performing rights are the composition, the writers and the publishers' share of the composition. So every time a song is used in synchronization, that's how we're getting paid our royalties, is through our PROs. Does that make sense? Or you're not really sure about what
No.
PROs do in general?
No, it does, but because of so many different outlets that I've learned about, which I'm with ASCAP, I've been with them for a while, and I know that you can, like if you performed at a club or whatever, you can tell them and let them know, different things like that. So I was just trying to merge the worlds, like, okay, so performance world and then the placements, I was just making sure that's who, I get those
That's
placements.
the only place you get your money for placements. So that's how you get your royalties. So you get your upfront money from the actual production company or network that's making the production. But the royalties come from your PRO, from ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, if you're overseas, GAMA, PRS, wherever you are. So that's how you get the money. They get the money because they do licenses with all the networks every year. They have licenses with film companies, and they pay us to our writers and our publishers' accounts every time a TV show is broadcast on a network like ABC, NBC, CBS, on a cable network like HBO, on a smaller network like BET, on whatever it is, network TV. They also pay on streaming for Hulu, Netflix, Amazon On Demand, for the streaming TV. So, because we're not talking radio this second, they also do pay streaming like Spotify and stuff, but we're talking about the for sync placements right now. So they pay all of that to us. And the way they know to pay us is because there's a thing called a Q sheet. Do you know what a Q sheet is, Ariane? Do you know what a Q sheet?
I know what Q's are, but not the Q sheet.
Okay, so a Q sheet houses all the Qs. It's like a piece of paper. It can be electronic. In the old days, it was actually handwritten on a piece of paper. Some people still handwrite them. And they list every song and every instrumental piece that's in the production. So it could be in the film or in the TV episode, and everyone makes that, every production makes that and submits it to the PRO. So they send it to ASCAP. And at ASCAP, the only benefit of ASCAP, because almost everything is not good at ASCAP, but the good benefit is they house all your Q sheets. So if you've ever been a member of ASCAP, like I was for only 1 year, and yet I have Q sheets from 35 years housed in my portal at ASCAP. So if I log into my personal portal, it says Q sheets. I click on Q sheets, I can see thousands of Q sheets that are my Q sheets. So that's a really nifty thing. And if you've had any placements, Ariane, then you can go into your ASCAP portal, log in, but even if you don't, you should see something that says Q sheets that you can click on. So when those Q sheets are how we get paid and how they know that it was our music individually that was used. The Q sheet lists our name, it lists our PRO, our performing rights organization, it lists the publisher, and it lists the publisher's PRO organization and name. It lists what the name of the song was, how long the use was, if it was 10 seconds, if it was 2 minutes, however long it is. It usually has a log, so it lists the timing that it's in the show. And it usually lists what kind of use it was, meaning was it a vocal, was it an instrumental, was it a theme song, was it a feature? So it's going to list all that, and that's how we get paid. In a nutshell, does that make sense?
Thank you so much for that, because that was going to be my next question. Is that something that is generated by you inputting your information when you go and register the Q sheet? Or is it something that we submit? But yeah, so
you don't register the Q sheet usually.
Right.
The production does all the Q sheet work. But when you do the license for the production, in the license, it's asking you for your name, your publisher's name, your PRO that you're affiliated with, and all of that, and for the song title. But they are going to fill in how long it is, what the use is, because you don't know that up front. They're the ones who are using it, right? It makes sense. So they're going to fill that out and put that in that Q sheet. Now, Q sheets are most always wrong, everybody. So it really behooves us to make sure we find them and look at them and make sure that they are correct. So, we have to personally have a system of checks and balances to be watching our registrations at our performing rights societies, our Q sheets, our licenses, whatever paperwork we're using. And like Gail was saying, you know, we are learning business because we are taking care of our own business. We should not be just creators creating all this great music that I'm hearing and not taking care of and knowing our business, because that's not going to help us very well. So that was a good question, and I hope that helps and answers.
Yes, thank
Good.
you. I don't want to hog it up, but I would if y'all let me.
Well, yeah, you can come back. Let's see who's next.
The next person we have is Demario. You had a question?
Okay, great.
I do. Thank you. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Demario. Let me see where you are. Usually I can see people like without scrolling so much. Are you on camera, Demario?
I am on camera.
Okay, now I see you. Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Great.
cool. So yesterday I was in a session with you, and you said we were talking about Splice, and you said don't use Splice, right? So it kind of hit me in the chest because I discovered Splice maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and as a producer, I loved it because one limitation is like having this arsenal of sounds. Like I play instruments and stuff, but I play keys, but I don't play all the instruments. So to find this, you know, affordable bank of live instruments and everything, it was just magic to me. So I made a significant amount of work with Splice samples. So I'm hearing more now that it's not great and that there are limitations and boundaries and stuff. So I guess now as I pivot to think about getting, one, my question is, how do you source sounds? And two, what recommendations do you have for a body of work that was made with Splice? Oh, and someone
Okay.
asked, why did you say stay away from Splice? So for those who weren't here when you said that, if you can tell them why.
Yeah, okay, so it's not just Splice. We're not just singling out Splice. We're singling out all sample libraries of that nature where you
Right.
are paying for them, because they are not optimum, because for legal reasons, even most of the people who use those samples don't read the fine print, so they're really not usable for sync. For creative reasons, because if we pitch a song to a music supervisor and 5,000 of us use the same, and we all have the same song. This is not good. The music supervisors don't like that for sync, besides the legal aspects of it, which are even bigger, where some of them lease you a beat, and you can only use it for a period of years, and it's not exclusive to you, and everybody else can use it, and then it expires if you don't pay X amount of dollars to make it only for you. And there are so many ramifications for this, so we should not be using these. I'll say a few things. One, it is, most of us here, right, are making, am I allowed to use the urban word? Because like, I'm from New York City, I'm from Queens, I'm as urban as they come. I really don't know another word for this, because urban encompasses hip hop, rap, R&B, soul, all kinds of Black music, right, that white people make too. And so I'm just gonna say the music supervisors are afraid of our music. They are afraid of our urban music because we use samples, because we have 14 writers and 17 publishers, and the dog got 2%. And, you know, this is the nature of this kind of music, right? And so because of this, they're afraid to use our songs to begin with. So they want to make sure there are no samples of any kind in our music. So what do? I hire humans. I hire humans who are great players. So, right, so Demario, if you play good keyboards, right, you say you play good keyboards, you can come on, Mike. If you say, you know, so if you play great keyboards, that's awesome. Now, let's say you need a guitar player because you actually want real guitar on your song. I hire a guitar player, right? I'm not an awesome guitar player myself, but I hire them. So unfortunately, yeah, we got to fork up some bucks, or we have to trade. You play keyboards on his song, she plays keyboards on your song, guitar on your song, this one mixes. So we have to have an arsenal of people to help us. So if you're not a beat maker, right, there are millions of beat makers. You don't want to use an existing beat of that beat maker. You want to hire them to work with you on your song specifically. Just like, if you look at the old days, right, and you look at, say, Chic, and you see Nile Rodgers, he has a band, right? He has a drummer, he has a guitar player, he has a keyboard player. People, right? If he's going to use programmed keyboards, he's going to hire you, but you're going to play them. You're not going to be using something that you're pulling off of a sample. You're going to be actually playing the keyboard, note by note, making your piano part, your keyboard part, right? Your synth part. Same with the drums. I'm going to be hitting those on pads. I'm going to be making that beat. Okay? So that's really what we want to do. So if we hear a sample that we like, you know, we can even try to hand cop it pretty close. You know, you don't want to rip it off exactly, but you can drop one beat here and there and use it, but you want to hand play it. And if you can't hand play it, you want to get someone who can in your arsenal to work with you. It's okay for live performance to use the samples. It's okay even to put on your album, but if you want to get your album used in synchronization, it is not okay. And it is going to make people very skeptical to work with you, because that's what they're going to want to know. They're going to say, DeMario, there's no samples in there, right? And they're trusting you, right? Because their jobs are on the line. Our job is to serve the music supervisors, serve the A&R people. Their job is to serve their powers that be, the producers, the showrunners, the directors, the record labels. So we have to be careful, because we're going to burn our bridge. If we have something in there that they find was illegal and they find we have samples, this is not optimum. So I'm hoping that's kind of making sense to you, you know, and to everybody. Because is that, DeMario?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I mean, for me, I guess it's about, I mean, the work is done. I'm glad I did use the service, because I made some great music, had a lot of fun. It was like having all these musicians and stuff that you say, but they're like, you know, there's a library of samples from them. I don't have to find all these people. But now that it's done, you know, I do want to still, I guess there's still promotional value in just putting it on the streaming sites and, you know, stuff like that. So I know I not to expect and not to go after sync opportunities, but I've heard samples from these libraries on like commercials and on albums and stuff like that. So I just wasn't sure.
Well, I can tell you this. If you want to pitch them still for synchronization, you would need to disclose upfront when you pitch the song. These songs contain samples from Spice.
Okay.
So they know upfront, right? So that maybe then they might come to you and say, hey, DeMario, I really love this. This is awesome. Can I see your paperwork with Spice? And you have it, right? So you can present.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. So I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, right? I mean, I'm just saying you can't without disclosing it. You shouldn't be using it. And once you disclose it to the music supervisor, I'd say 80-90% of the time they're going to say, thank you, no. Okay?
Okay.
So that's the problem. If you're ever so inclined to recreate these songs that you have made without the samples in it, I would really highly suggest it, because I bet your music is awesome and fabulous. And if you could just get that stuff hand played, even if it sounds almost the same, but get those samples out of there, you would really be doing yourself a great service. And I will say to everybody here, in synchronization, the most needed usable music is up-tempo hip-hop that's clean. So hip-hop that has 2 or 3 writers on it, not 14 writers. Hip-hop that has no profanity in it, no N-word, no B-word, no, even be careful with booty too much. You know, if anything that's about life is fabulous and going forward and money is my jam, and, you know, things that aren't about romance and love and booty calls, those songs, you'll all clean up. You'll all clean up and sync, because they are so hard to find, because those songs are so encumbered by too many writers, too many publishers, too many bad words, too many samples. And so if you can create a body of work for the music supervisors that are without samples and clean and up-tempo hip-hop, oh my God, that's all I can say. The world is yours. You're going to make so much money. So, you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go make it. All right. So who's next?
Anya.
Cool. Okay, birthday girl.
It's me again. With the, I have a two-part question with the cue sheet. I had a song that was placed on an Instagram docu-series, but it was before, I think Instagram wasn't really monetized at the time, but it's now, to my understanding, it's now monetized. It's not, I don't think it's retroactive.
It's not monetized, and the PROs don't pay from Instagram.
Oh.
No, they don't pay for Instagram. They don't pay for Facebook. They don't pay for Twitter. They don't pay any of that at the PROs. No.
It's now saying they're monetized. I think it's new.
But then you would have to monetize with them directly if you do that. They don't go through the PROs. I've not seen them monetize, so I'll look into that for you because I've not seen that. I have not seen.
The other thing, Sound Exchange, when they handle that, since it's digital.
Yeah, but Sound Exchange is a totally different thing from being paid from performing rights societies for monetizing. So I'll tell you the difference. PROs pay the writers and publishers, not the producers, the writers and the publishers only. They don't pay for record sales. Those are called mechanicals. They only pay the writers and publishers, performing rights societies, okay?
Right.
They pay for radio, TV, live performances, streaming, things of that nature, box office out of the United States for films, things of that nature. Sound Exchange pays the artist and the master owner, the person who owns the music, the record label, basically. So if you own your own music and putting it out yourself, streaming, like let's say on the DSPs, like you use TuneCore or CD Baby or DistroKid or whatever you use, you then, it's your record label, basically your music. Sound Exchange pays that, the master and the artist. So if you are the artist, that's what Sound Exchange is paying you. And Sound Exchange is only paying that for digital services. Digital services being things like Spotify and Pandora and Apple. They're not paying for the radio, regular radio. So if you're listening to WWKFM, radio station in your hometown, they're not paying for that. They don't pay that. That's what the PROs pay, but only to the writers and publishers. There's no payment from regular radio to artists, to master owners, to musicians, nothing in America. Okay, so you kind of understanding the difference. Sound Exchange pays the writers and mechanicals, now the master owner. Now, as for Instagram and Facebook, I don't see them paying any royalties yet. But if you do, I'm going to look more into it, and we can talk after the seminar, and we can try to figure out how we would monetize that from them. But the PROs don't pay that, and Sound Exchange does not pay that.
Okay. So second part of my question is, if I have a song that that the producer is saying the track is cleared, if for sync licensing, do they always require the waves? Because this one producer is saying they don't need his wave files and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you're going to get a song in a production, in a TV show, in a movie, in a game, in an ad, in a promo, yes, 95, even more, maybe 98% of the time, they are going to ask you for the wave. The wave is the high quality resolution version of your song. MP3s are all squashed and compressed and don't sound as good. So yes, they're going to ask you for a full frequency wave. Yes. And I don't understand why, if he's professional, he can't give you a wave.
Because he's an ass, that's why.
Oh yeah, well that's the other story. In this business, there's a lot of assholes. So, we just don't work with them again, right? That's a live and learn thing. That's like eliminate those people. So, and I'm sorry for you, but I will tell you this. If you go into a studio and you have a buddy friend who has a studio, like I have old songs where I can't find waves. I have my husband fake it in our studio. Just say, can you fake this for me?
Okay.
And he'll just fake it, and he'll just make it bigger. and it sounds better, and nobody knew that it wasn't really the wave. It says wave now because we've made it a wave, but so that can be done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But don't work with that person. And anybody who's next?
You guys can use the raise hand feature.
Yeah, let me see. I'm just seeing Eric saying something. Eric, exactly. I agree with you. I mean, I have my own studio, so I can go, my husband engineers for me. I can go call him in 5 minutes and go, hey, can you make me stems for, somebody needs the drums for this song. Yeah. But if we can't do that, we should all leave the studio. What should we leave with? If we're hiring a producer, we should leave with the wave of the full version, the wave of the instrumental version, the wave of the TV version. A TV version is a full mix with no lead vocal and no ad-libs. Ad-libs being, yeah, baby, none of that, and not the lead vocal. So that's a TV mix. We want to leave waves of all of that. Once we have waves, we can make MP3s in our own iTunes because you just hit convert and it makes you an MP3. If they're really nice producers, they'll give you all 6. They'll give you all the MP3s. We should also be leaving with stems, okay? So stems are the individual tracks. So we should be leaving with the drum stems. We should be leaving with the percussion stems. We should be leaving with the guitar stems, with the keyboard stems, with the lead vocal, with the background vocals, everything separated and mastered so that we can now have this in case somebody needs it in a second, like Eric is saying, because sometimes they call me and they'll say, I need this in 2 minutes. Can you send me? Well, I have it, I can send it. But if you don't have it, that's not good. So you should leave it at that. You should also be asking, and you might get a negative on this, but you should be asking, I would like to take the whole session, the whole DAW session, Pro Tools, Nuendo, Logic, whatever these people are using in their DAW, it doesn't matter. And you should be able to get the whole session. I negotiate all of this and teach my people to negotiate all of this up front. So before I hire any producer, I'm going to give them my checklist, right, that I have to leave the studio, and I'm going to make sure I get everything, right? Well, I'm my own producer, so I have my own studio, but I mentor everybody to do this. Because if up front you already see that, like Tani's saying, the producer is an ass, you don't want to work with them, and they're not going to give you what you need, and they're going to give you a hard time, and this is not optimum. So I hope that helps.
We have a question from Rick O'Shea.
Yep. Hey, how you doing, Michelle?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. So I'm a music creator, educator, entrepreneur here in Nashville. And I remember I have a pro audio podcast called Faders Up, and we had a discussion on one episode on, this guy maybe argument, but the issue was our terminology, our stems and individual track outs or multi-tracks considered the same thing, because it's a lot of people disagree on that.
No, they're the same thing. Exactly. They're the same thing, except that you're consolidating stems usually a bit. Like, so if let's say I have doubled the guitar part, right? And I have, let's say for my background vocals, maybe I have six singing the same part, and I've layered them all, right? I'm going to get my stem mixed together. I'm going to have all 6 mixed together stereo, rather than getting stems that have 12 tracks of stems. I'm going to get 2 tracks of stems, right? 6 voices on one side, 6 voices on the other side, same, 1 guitar on one side, 1 guitar on the other side. I'm going to get them stereo as 1 stem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I understand like what they are, but where the discrepancy comes in, because sometimes people look at stems as just basically, like you said, like the subgroups, right?
Yeah, they are. Exactly. Individual tracks are individual tracks.
Right. So maybe I'm not saying it clearly. So what I'm saying, there's a difference between having subgroups. for example, you could have your kick, your snare, your hi-hat, your rhythm section is one subgroup, right? So what I'm saying, just for clarity, so people aren't confused, there is a difference between exporting subgroups and then exporting every individual track from a session. I just wanted to make sure there was clear.
Yeah, good. So yeah, so you're exactly right, and I hope everybody was clear with that, and now they are. So that, thank you so much. Exactly. So there is a difference between the individual tracks, because when I do vocals, sometimes I'll have 24, 30 vocal tracks. So, but when I'm making the stems of them, I'm going to end up with one lead and backgrounds mixed stereo and one ad-lib track and maybe some counterparts in another stereo. So I might end up with like 5 stems instead of 30 individual tracks. So exactly. Thank you.
We have a question from Kuzi.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, sis.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing your knowledge with us. And I got sucked into the group chat a little bit. And I kind of lost the track of where my question was. But if I could I could recall what you were saying that that artists should go into a studio and bring ideas, and the producer and or
I wasn't saying
who's
any of that, but where
I'm trying to paint the picture that I see right now. The picture that I received from what you had said, and it was that the artist would leave with the track out and the stems even, and get the production, the stems of the production, and be put in a position to negotiate, any of those parts. And as a producer, like, I would say, if I were an artist, I see how that would be convenient. But as a producer, how what in my mind it's not practical, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been in a situation where I had someone come in and it wasn't my production, and because it wasn't my production, and he came in and he recorded with me, and then he was like, "Yay, let's mix this down, let's get this to this place and this and that." And I'm working because I like to leave my client out of the studio with a solid mix, and if it needs to be perfected, here are my rates. But when you walk out of here, you're gonna have something that you're gonna want to listen to it. And if you go out and you run with it, you're gonna get back, hey, it's not done because it wasn't. So come pay me to finish it.
But what is your question? I don't understand what your question.
Okay. My question is, as a producer, if someone comes and tries to take everything, as all of that, like how do you negotiate to where, okay, you can take this but not this? Like I said, someone came in, took my sauce and ran with it.
Do songwriters hire you to produce their songs?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now I'll understand that. So I'm coming to you to produce my song, let's say, okay? I have the song, I have the melody, I have the lyric, I have the chords. I can play it to you on some basic way and sing it to you. Okay. I'm hiring you to produce and arrange my song. I'm hiring you to create the parts, correct? The keyboard parts, the drum parts, whatever you're using. Hopefully you're not using samples, and hopefully if you need a player that you don't play something yourself, you're hiring somebody, okay? I am hiring you. We are discussing up front the fee. I am telling you up front, I need stems. Okay, stems take a half an hour to run. It's not a long process, right? I need the song mastered. Mastering takes 10 minutes to master a song. Yeah, sometimes it takes 4 minutes. If the song is 4 minutes long and you're good at it, that's all it takes to master the song.
With a preset,
if it's taking you longer, then you don't know how to master well.
Sounds like somebody has a nice template.
Okay, right? Well, I am a producer. I have my own studio, but I'm saying, so I know what it takes. I'm coming to you let's say I don't have my own studio. I'm coming to you to produce my song. These are the things that you're going to do. You're going to give me a rate, and I'm going to tell you that's great. When I leave, I need all those mixes I mentioned, which you might not have heard because you were doing the chat, which is always much more interesting anyway. So I need the instrumental track, I need the TV track, I need the phone mix, I need them as waves. And again, if you're nice, you'll give me the MP3s too to make my life easier. But if not, I'm going to make the MP3s in my iTunes. Takes me a second to convert them. It's no big deal. So what?
My real question, I'm sorry. My real question is, does getting upfront payment for that service forfeit you from back pay? That's my real
Yes,
question.
sirree. I'm going to give you paperwork that says it's work for hire and you are paid a one-time fee, and that's it. Yes, for this kind of service to songwriters to create songs, yes. You could have a provision in that contract that says, that's great. Okay, you're going to pay me $1,500. You're going to pay me $1,000. You're going to pay me $2,000. You're going to pay me $500. Whatever your rate is, but it can also say that you own this, and this is work for hire. But if a major label artist records this song and wants to use this production, you could have some kind of extra benefit for yourself that says then the major label would have to negotiate some payment for me.
A clause.
Yeah, you could do that. Because remember, the artist is not, the songwriter is not going to get paid from the major label any kind of upfront fee. I hope you all know that people don't get paid upfront fees when they have a song recorded. If Beyonce records one of your songs, you don't get paid, you only get royalties, that kind of thing. So you could have some kind of clause that says if the record label wants to use the master, that you might get something extra. But that is very rare. When I hire musicians, like let's say I hired you not to produce because I'm the producer, but I hired you to program some beats for me by hand, actually play them by hand, not using samples. I'm going to give you paperwork that says this is work for hire, this is your payment, and you are not getting anything else. And I own it.
That is very respectable too on the business end. So if someone is for that situation, it's a non-negotiable. How do you navigate that, even though you want to work with that person, and then you know that they're bringing that paperwork? Is there any way around that?
You either do it or you don't. No, if you work with me, I'm going to hire you work for hire. There's no way around it. And if you don't want to make the cash, that's fine. I go to somebody else who wants to make the cash. Lots of people want to make cash and do a little programming to make some money. Lots of people want to do productions for money, and they're making thousands. It's not like I'm hiring you and paying you $50 to produce my track, but if I'm paying you $1,500 to produce my track, then I own it. And that's the dealio. The chances of it getting synchronized are good. The chances of it being with a major artist are small. So, and not because any of us aren't any good, it's because the business doesn't usually work that way. Usually I wrote with Beyonce and I produced it, and then the record label worked with me. It's usually not, I'm pitching a song from the outside, because it doesn't happen as much anymore, except in country music, where I would pitch a song for, say, Reba McEntire to record, and then they would hire me or another producer to produce it. That happens in country music, but in pop music, it doesn't happen as much. Usually it's the writer who produced it. I hope I'm making sense. That was kind of a little weird. Okay, I'm trying to say is if I hire you to produce for me and a major label is going to record the song, it's not as usual these days, because usually it would have already been a co-write with the artist at this time. So the chances of you making tons of that money are small. But I have done it with artists. Let me say that artists have hired me before in the past, and I've said, that's great, you can own it, you can do whatever you want with it. But, if some major artist from a major label wants to record it, I want some money up front, extra, for using that music that I produced, one-time fee, because it can be $30,000, $50,000. So you can do that as an extra clause. Did I make sense now? Because I know I was getting a little not making sense.
It was a fork, so I was seeing the two ends of the tunnel.
Which are?
Which are you're either gonna take that situation where you take this little bit of money for your $1 million idea, or know that you can connect with someone who, who can take, you know, uh,
Well, you
who
do
will pay
both
you.
in your business. Can't you do
Right.
both?
But there is a choice. And yeah, I guess you have to have the wisdom to decide. So
Yeah, but you can do both in your business. You can be working with independent artists who don't have big budget and you are doing work for hire for them where you charge them $1,500 or something. And you can be doing work that maybe you're going to end up writing with Beyonce and becoming the producer and making bigger bucks on those. And you can do both, because I believe in diversifying. We should diversify and do all kinds of stuff. Sometimes somebody pays me $50 and sometimes somebody pays me $50,000. It's all the same. I do the same great job for them. I want to just diversify and pick up the jobs.
okay, so in essence, don't put the money sign on the art, just let it flourish.
In my opinion, yeah, because the money comes if you do that. I mean, you should have a price, but I don't think that you should be so cut and dry about your production and plus you learn every time you produce something, you learn something more and you get better at it. And that makes you more attractive to somebody else to hire you. And it's just how it works. It's like for sync fees for movies. Sometimes they're gratis, free, and sometimes they're paying you $10,000. And if it's for an ad, sometimes they're paying you $50,000. And sometimes they're paying you $2,000. It all varies. It all varies. So I think we have to diversify and be flexible to keep growing our businesses.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I can see you're not satisfied with the answer, but
No,
I'm sorry.
I received everything that you gave me. I'm taking it in. I'm gonna do the work.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a question from Deborah.
Okay.
Can you start your video?
Is Deborah
Okay,
here?
she said she'll start her video later. Go ahead, Deborah.
That's okay.
You can ask your question.
Did she disappear?
Okay, we have another question from Joshua Long.
Okay.
Joshua, are you ready? Perfect.
Great. Hi, Joshua.
Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. First, thank you for taking the time to do this workshop. And I Googled your name and found your credits list, and it is amazing. So thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you. My honor. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw out 2 questions here. First one, I noticed you did sign a publishing deal at one point. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've had major publishing deals. Yeah. But years ago. Yes.
Yeah. My question was, like, this is more of a pros and cons of signing a publishing deal, and then sort of pros and cons of building yourself as a production publishing business. Where would you leave with that?
Okay, so that was great. Just one sec. I'm just answering someone in the car. Okay, so yes. So I prefer to own my own publishing for many, many reasons. Now, I was signed to major publishers. The good part about major publishers is you feel like they gave you some clout, right? When I signed my first publishing deal, I had a huge hit on the radio and I had $9 and I was a waitress and I had nothing. I had a car that had no hubcaps. My friends called it the Road Warrior. And I didn't have anything, right? So I knew nothing either. I knew nothing. So I signed the publishing deal because they handed me this money that I sent my father a Xerox of, because this is so long ago, there was no this. And the check, look, right? They get a $25,000 check. Oh my God. Okay. So I know nothing. So I did this, right? But what they do is they encumber the songs. And by encumbering them, it means they kind of own you. And they kind of own them. And they, even though they really didn't, because it was a co-publishing deal and I still own the copyrights, they took control of everything. Does that make sense? And so they encumber the songs, and especially for synchronization, it really sucks because the music supervisors, just like they don't want samples, don't want to work with people who have publishing deals because like for instance, when I had a publishing deal, it wasn't even a publishing deal. I had an administration deal, okay, with a big company, with Chrysalis, and I had gotten a promo for NBC. It was $20,000 for a promo. That was the fee. I got the contract. I could have done it myself, but because I had this administration deal, I decided let the attorney take care of it. That's sort of his job, and let him just do it. Well, he never did. He never got to it. And NBC, the head of music at NBC, wrote him about 5-10 times, called on the telephone, everything. Please, can you do this? And I'm begging, please, can you do this contract? And in the end, I lost it, because he didn't get to it fast enough. It took weeks and weeks, okay? So what really needed to be done was I needed to read that contract that day, say yes, agree, and have it done, which is what I always do now. But for some reason, then I decided, okay, let them have a little power, because I steal the power away from them. This is not good, right? When I had my first publishing deals, I had a situation where I wrote 2 songs for a movie specifically for the movie. I got 1 song in that was a lot of money because it was the main song, but then I wrote 2 other songs for some smaller scenes, right? The publishing company wouldn't agree to it. They said the money was too low. And this was $2,500 each in 1991. So that's huge in 1991. And still the major publisher said no. And so now I have these 2 songs I wrote specifically for the director for the movie, and they won't allow it. Okay, I'm done, right? Am I done? So this is what I say to everybody. This is not good. So now if you're a songwriter who, let's say you only write for major label artists, that's great, but it's really not so great, because you could write 10 songs for Beyonce that are album cuts and end up making nothing, because they're not on the radio and they're only being streamed on Spotify, so you're making pennies. So you could be signed to a music publisher because, you know, you are maybe a writer who does that. But the publisher becomes a bank. So the other problem is you're unrecouped all the time, and you end up in this vicious cycle where they own you forever because you never, ever recoup. And most of the time there's what's called a write and release commitment. So you might have to, they might pay you, but then you have to write, say, and release 10 songs a year, okay? But what happens if I co-write? And then there's 3 of us on every song. That means I have to write and release 30 songs a year. That means I have to get a major label artist on 30 songs a year in order for me to get my next year's payment. Because they're gonna, if not, they're gonna put me in suspension, and they're gonna even hold my advance payment, which is an advance, by the way. Everything a publisher gives you is an advance, recoupable, but you never recoup. And so these are the big issues with signing with major publishers. And for me personally, I want to learn all this stuff we're talking about today. I want to control my own destiny. I still write with major label artists and still get major label cuts, and I own my own publishing. I don't have to have a publisher take care of that. Okay, so like you could say, well, the paperwork is daunting. The paperwork is daunting either way, because you've got to give them all this information anyway. And is the paperwork? Yeah, I spend a lot of time doing spreadsheets and paperwork and registrations and blah, 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 for sure. But I own everything, right? So why do I want to give them my money, right? And most of the time I'm getting the work. So most of the time I'm pitching the song that Beyonce is cutting, right? So I've already got the cut. I've already done that. Now, why do I need them to take a chunk of it just to file a registration form? So I hope all of this is helping, and ask more questions on the subject if you want, but
That's good.
yeah, it's really a bank. Like for me, it was a bank. Like I had $9. I had no clue. I didn't know anything we're talking about today. I knew nothing, right? But I only had a publishing deal after that for 2 years. That was it. I already saw the writing on the wall when I was so lucky to see here 30 years ago already, to see this is not optimum. I'm not getting my songs placed because they're denying them because of fees, right? Or timing. This is not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate
yeah.
that.
Yeah. But of course, if you ever do it, you could try it for a minute, like, you know, right? You just have to hope that the contract is good and that they don't keep you as a prisoner forever because you never recoup. Like I have a friend, she just wrote Blackpink's single Ice Cream. She co-wrote it. She's a prisoner of Warner Chappell. She is absolutely a prisoner. They're never going to let her out of that contract, but she's trying to get out of it because she's unrecouped, and they won't even consider the fact that it's, even though it's the biggest artist, the fact that the artist is Korean is a problem for them, not American, and they won't even consider it a cut.
Wow.
Wow, I know. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's all really yucky.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I have one more quick question,
Mhm.
and that little different subject. I'm getting into for I know. Does a producer need to be an engineer as well?
No, I'm a producer. I'm not an engineer. I suck. I mean, if you come to my studio for singing, if I'm going to engineer the vocal session awesomely, I'm going to do a great job. If you come and play guitar or play drum, I'm not drums because I'd have to mic them. But if you're coming, I can set up a mic to play guitar. Yes, I'm great at that. But if you're going to come and play drums where I have to set up a mic kit for, you know, all the drums, no, I'm not going to be good at that. And if you want me to mix and turn the knobs, no. I'm the producer. So as the producer, I'm going to sit in that session with the engineer and I'm going to tell them, I want more reverb here. I want it to sound more like this. I want it to sound more distorted. I want it to sound, I'm going to give all that because I'm the producer, right? So I'm in charge. But am I going to be turning those knobs and knowing what every reverb is for? No, right? So that's a really good point that you bring up for everything, for all of us. We all don't have to be good at everything, right? Some of us are great lyricists. Some of us are great melody writers. Some of us are great keyboard players, and we cannot play guitar at all. Some of us, you know, right? Some of us are great producers like me and suck as engineers. So it depends what we want our focus to be. Like, could I learn to be a great engineer? Yeah, for sure, if I wanted to take the time and do that, but it's not really necessary because there are amazing engineers in the world and I can hire one. And I'm blessed to be married to a famous one. So, you know, but at the same point, you know, when I wasn't married to him, I hired great engineers and they need work too. So, you know, we can, everybody, it's a symbiotic thing going on, right? It's a tribe. So that's a good question. So no.
That's good. Thank you so much.
No. Yeah. You're welcome.
The next question is from Delina.
Cool. Hello.
Hey, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm just looking for you in the sea of people. Are you on camera?
Yes.
Ah. Well, I hope I see you then. For some reason, I'm not. But what is your, oh no, now I see you. Okay, you are hiding over there. Got it. Hi, fantastic. Okay, what's your question?
Thanks again for just joining us and all this insight. And I feel like my question is a crazy question, but then after everybody, like, do I know what I think I know? So I have two questions. So the first question is, if you're not under a publishing company, if you're just a writer and you're publishing your own works, when it asks for you on the split sheet for the publishing company, you don't have to put anything, or should you create a company that's your own for your own publishing?
Okay, that's an awesome question. And I'll tell you why. This is what's going on in my class right now in the course that I teach, because I have a lot of people who don't have publishing companies, and you have to have a publishing company. So which PRO are you a member of?
BMI.
Okay, great. BMI is awesome. Okay, unfortunately though, BMI is a little expensive to form a publishing company. It's $150. You need a publishing company. You need to spend the money. Okay, in order to especially do anything like professional, first of all, let's say that Beyonce records your song, okay, and you're an independent, right? That's awesome. You'll make more money. But there's a thing called a mechanical license, the license that you sign with the record label to get paid your record sales money, not your performance money, like not from BMI, but like your record sales money. That is only paid to the publisher. You cannot get paid that to your writer. So to you, they will not pay it. They'll only pay it to you as the publishing company that you formed. So even though you own it, it's just the other half of you, they will not send the money to a writer. So you need to have a publishing account. Further, if you're doing synchronization, right? You have got to have a publishing account, because on those cue sheets that I was discussing before and on the licenses, they need the publishing information. They need to know Michelle Weiss Maslin CSAC, Even Sweeter Songs CSAC. They need to know my writing name and PRO and my publishing company PRO. That is going to be in the license, going to be in the cue sheet. The only professional way to do business. So even though, you see, I get angry with the PROs because they tell you when you sign up, oh, there's no need to have a publishing account. Oh, you can just put it through your writer's account. Yeah, because that's because we're all new. We're all with no credits. And they're all assuming we're just going to be among the 30, 50, 100,000 people who do nothing, right? They're not assuming, hey, we're really talented and we are going to do this and we are going to be successful and get our music out there. They're not banking that way. They're banking the other way, that nothing's going to happen to us, which really sucks and is not very supportive, in my opinion, right? I want to be banked on that I am going to do amazing things. So then they just tell us, so don't bother, with a publishing company, it'll cost you more money, it's more paperwork. It's just more for them, right. So everybody here, you want to have a publishing company. So whoever you're with for your PRO as a writer, you want to form a publishing company for your songs. It's beyond important. So that was a great question, and super important for everybody.
Thank you for clarifying that. My other question is, are you on social media, and what's your social media?
Oh yeah, so I'm on very basic social media because don't have time. So I do Facebook and I do LinkedIn. And I love LinkedIn. And I know most people don't do LinkedIn, but I'll also say that's a great question to let everybody know here. LinkedIn is the most amazing thing for business. It's free. You should all have a LinkedIn page. Sign up, do it, because it's for business. And let's say you want to write music for Target, and you look through all the people who work at Target and you see marketing. You can try to make friends with these people, try to connect with these people, try to get your music to them. So I love LinkedIn. So I only have Facebook and LinkedIn, no Twitter, no Instagram. I actually think I do have Instagram, but I never ever look at it. So I've never engaged in it. Okay. So yeah. So you use all of them, I'm guessing?
Yes, I have two LinkedIn because I have a company too. So I have LinkedIn and I have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
Great, cool. And I also have a YouTube channel that I never attend to. So you might all want to have a YouTube channel. Those are awesome too. Yeah, do you? I
do, but I don't do anything on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, because it gets to the point where it's so much work. It's like all we're doing is like engaging in socials all day. So, it's depends what you're promoting. I find that promoting grassroots is much better, having your own personal mailing list. Like I have about 20,000 people on my mailing list, at least, and I find that that's much more effective, direct marketing, than
mailing list.
Say that again?
How do you get your mailing list?
Oh, you just send me an email, and everybody can have my email. I'll put it here, but Jitsi or Kevin can give it to you afterwards.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, so I'm always available. If I don't answer, I didn't get it, because I want people to respond to me. So I respond to everybody. So yeah, but I'd love you to be on my mailing list. All of you, everybody, for the events and stuff. It's super, super cool. Awesome. So I hope that helped a little with answering those questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next person we have is Ben.
Sure. Hello?
Oh, hey, how you doing, Michelle?
Hey, Benno, I see you. There you are. Cool. Wait, you disappeared.
Yes, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
There you are. Nice to meet you as well. So tell me, what's up?
Yes, I have two questions. One, if I want to own a publishing company for TV and film, how do I go about that? To represent other clients.
Oh, okay. So you want to have a publishing company for TV and film. Do you have one for yourself as your own, right, at your PRO, like we were just discussing?
Yes.
What are you at? Which PRO are you at?
BMI.
Okay, good. So yeah, so the same thing works with that. So now if you have other BMI writers that you're representing, you can just put them through your existing BMI publishing company. Cool. They just sign paperwork with you that they want you to represent them. And then you just have their songs registered into your account, BMI account. Now, if you're going to publish me, I'm a CSAC writer, okay? So then you would have to open a CSAC publishing company because I'm a CSAC writer, right? Same with if you publish somebody who's an ASCAP writer, you have to open an ASCAP publishing company. You can't open those companies without a song. So if you just publish one song of mine, CSAC has to open a publishing company for you so that you can, does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. And what's the other question?
Do we need to give them statements?
You mean, do you need to give them statements that your artists, the writers that you are representing?
Yes.
Yes, you do. So basically you would receive statements from BMI, from CSAC, from ASCAP. You receive those statements from them, and then you are required to pay out the people you are publishing. So let's say you're co-publishing them, right? You're taking half, 50% of their publishing, which is kind of normal in a publishing deal, right? Most don't take 100%. Most publishing deals that are exclusive take 50% of that. You would be collecting for yourself. All the publishing money will come to you. It's not going to come to them. Their writer's share will go directly to them, but their publishing is going to go to you. And now you are required to divvy out their half to them. Exactly. Okay.
Cool.
You can have a situation where you're only receiving half their publishing and they're receiving half their publishing. That's less standard in a publishing deal, but you can work that out so that it's less work for you to have to account to them. But in a real publishing deal, that wouldn't happen. They'd be collecting all of it. And a lot of that is because when you have a real publishing deal with someone, they're giving you money up front as an advance. And so how they're recouping their money is on all of it that they receive. Until you're recouped, you're not getting a share. So if you give me, Ben, if you give me $5,000, right? You want to collect all the money until $5,000 before you give me more, is usually how it works. So that's why most publishing deals collect on all of it and then account to the writers. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Awesome, because it's complicated stuff. So thank you.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
How profitable are sync libraries?
They really vary. Look, I love that. As I was saying before, I love to diversify. I only believe in non-exclusive sync libraries unless it's a commission. If someone commissions me and they pay me, X amount of dollars to make a 10-song album for them and I'm creating for them and they pay me, great. I want to do an exclusive library. They can own the songs. I'll just get my writer's share on the back end and that's fabulous. But if it's my own catalog, my own songs, I put them in tons of non-exclusive libraries and they're wonderful. And how lucrative they are really varies. I mean, some might be that you only get a placement every 2 years. Some might be that they place 3 songs of yours this year. And the money that you make isn't from the library. The money is from royalties. Most of the money. So it's going to your writer's share of the royalties. And maybe if they split the fees up front, sometimes they do, it will vary. It might be $100, it might be $500, it might be $50. Unfortunately, there are no standards for synchronization fees. So the libraries are doing deals and then just splitting with you. Does that make sense? So, and some don't give you any of the upfront money, some keep it all. It really varies. All the libraries have different deals. So I would say you really can't look at libraries as going to be your source of income. It's going to be your source of diversifying. And like, maybe I'll make $5,000 from this library, and I'll make $10,000 from this direct fee, and I'll make $10,000 from the radio, and I'll make, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm making money from all over the place.
Yes.
But I'm not relying on a music library to make a living, because that wouldn't be optimum. Yeah, but we want to do it because it's wonderful.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it so much.
You're welcome. All right. These are great questions. And these are such deep questions. That's what I saw this morning too. I love them. They're not like the usual simple stuff.
The next question we have is from Demario.
Cool, Demario. Welcome back.
Hey, Megan. I just wanted to know, can you talk a bit about, as a songwriter, your process for bringing a song to market, I guess, and that's from conceptual to when you start to pitch. It's specifically about, I guess, that mix and mastering step. What relationship do you have with like engineers and the expectation of quality you have for a song that you know you're not going to be the artist on, if that makes sense?
Not really.
Okay,
Try
so
again.
if you wrote a song and you recorded yourself, but you maybe expected that it was going to be for someone else, like you knew you were going to pitch this song, right? What's your standard of quality for your demo song?
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. There are no demos, Demario. We are not making demos here. We are making records. We are making masters. Now, the terminology when you have a new song that's never been recorded and we say, hey, listen to my new record, that's like not correct. That is not a record. A record is something that's out on the radio that some artist recorded. That's a record. Our new song is not a record, but our new song is a master quality recording. It sounds like a record. It sounds like the radio. If you put your song, someone was once telling me this, and I think it's brilliant. If you put your song in a Spotify playlist, right, in your Spotify playlist, and you're listening with your headphones, your song should not stick out. Your song should just blend right in with all the others because it sounds that good. So when it's next to Drake and it's next to Beyonce and it's next to whoever, right, your song just fits right in there. And yesterday I heard some amazing music, and this morning from here too, you know, where I think that people are getting the handle on making great recordings. But
Yeah,
you cannot pitch like a piano vocal. You can't pitch a guitar vocal. You can't pitch just like a little beat that you made and singing on top of it. You have to have a full production.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked, like, I'm an engineer. I mixed a lot of the songs that have been played this weekend, and I guess I wanted you to speak more to, because we're trying to prepare songwriters for how to, you know, send the right stuff, how to get that good, clean vocal in the beginning. You know, even if you're just a songwriter, what are some of the basic things like to record yourself and make sure that you have a good, like those good stems to send to an engineer, and then what that process of kind of back and forth might look like. You can't just send it once, or, you know, to me, I expect, and I let people know that I'm going to give you 2 revisions with this mix, because I expect you to say, oh, turn this up, turn this down, or you might be married to the demo you made and you're not ready for the remix. So I guess, so my question is like, how can the songwriter, at home songwriter, you know, prepare that process of recording, you know, writing the song, recording themselves, and then getting it mixed and mastered to be a master quality, what you called it.
Isn't that all about ears, right? So that's being a great producer. Being a great producer is all about ears. So one has to develop their ears. One has to listen to what's out there like you have. One has to pay attention, right? That's all it is. And one has to learn how to use their equipment. Because if one can't do it themselves, then one should not, you know? Then one should go to a studio and come to you and let you record them, or whoever's a producer, record them as they sing or as they play, so that we make sure all the instruments are tuned and all the vocals are tuned and in time and all of that. So the only look, if I have my own studio, right? So I can do this. But if I didn't, in the days when I didn't, I went to a studio. I had producers and I had engineers and I had people that I worked with. That's the key. The key is to work with great people while you're developing your skills. Because again, not all of us have to be able to record ourselves at home and be good at it. right? We don't have to have that skill. We could be great. Most of the great songwriters in the world are not great engineers, and they are not recording at home. They were going outside to hire you, fabulous engineer, to give you work, right? So I guess I hope that answers the question, but it doesn't matter how you do it. They have to sound amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question we have is from Anjanita.
Sure, Anjanita, that's a beautiful name. Hi.
Hi, thank you for just dropping all this lovely knowledge on us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So my question was also had to do with publishing, but it was under publishing. Like, let's say if you're working with artists who are, you may have somebody that's under BMI, and then you may have somebody that's under ASCAP. Would you be able to, if you were getting some of the publishing off of those, like, could you like own like a blanket company or blanket publishing company, or could you register that same company with both entities?
Okay, I'm going to try to figure out if I understand what you're saying. So, and I think I was just speaking on this with Ben, but okay. So first of all, artists are not eligible to have the PROs.
I'm going to say right.
Right, good for you. Just so you know that, I love that the light bulb went off and you understand that, because a lot of people just don't ever seem to understand that. So I'm so proud of you that you do. So, okay. So now you're representing these other writers, right? And they're at different PROs, which means, which PRO are you at as a writer?
BMI.
BMI, great. Okay. So that means that if you're working with someone who's ASCAP, you have to open an ASCAP, right? PRO for their publishing company. If I'm CSAC, you'd have to open a CSAC publishing company to represent me. That's easy peasy stuff. So you just do that, and then you can represent them. So it's pretty simple.
So but Kim, like if I have an LLC, one LLC, can that one LLC be listed as a publishing company under?
Okay, so no. So first of all, you don't need everybody should know right now, you don't need an LLC. You don't even need a DBA to open a publishing company at a performing arts organization. I don't have an LLC. I never have. It's a lot of work. I have enough work. I don't want to be doing that. You know, I have a DBA that expired like 20 years ago, so I don't even use that. I just get paid direct deposit to my bank account from my PRO, and nobody cares if I have either one, a DBA or an LLC. So you don't need to, but that you do is great. But you would have to have separate ones, because these are separate companies. You're basically making separate companies. So if you have a BMI publishing company, or you can just keep the LLC for BMI, but when you do CSAC and ASCAP, just don't have another LLC. You know, you don't really need that. And then, but you have to have different companies, different names. So for instance, my publishing company at BMI is called Sweeter Songs, okay? But then I switched to ASCAP for a minute. That company there is still Sweeter Songs. Then I switched to CSAC, where I've been for 20 years. I have two companies, Even Sweeter Songs and More Sweeter Songs. So I did variations on the name of my company, right? So they'd have some semblance of togetherness, but they're all different, completely different companies and entities that do not cross over. So in order for you to make publishing companies at these other companies, you have to have a different name clear. You cannot use the same name you use. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I have one more question, and it's about pitching. So can you kind of go into and discuss the difference of pitching for sync versus pitching for the labels? Like, how much of a difference is there?
Okay, great. I love that. I teach that in my course, and we haven't even gotten to that. So for my students, here is a little preview. So I love that. Yeah. So the difference is in the fact that you're not pitching to music supervisors, right? You're pitching to A&R people, or you're pitching to managers, or you're pitching to producers sometimes. Like, let's say, like, I pitched some songs to Rodney Jerkins and made friends with him years ago because he was producing Brandy and I wanted to get some songs with Brandy. So you would ask to be pitching to those kinds of entities. You might be pitching to a song plugger. Song plugger is someone who might rep your songs to get to the artists, but doesn't do sync stuff. So that's in the only way that is different, but my approach is exactly the same. I'm just sending the A&R people, the producers, the managers, the song pluggers, the same song. And I'm writing them a note that basically says, especially to the A&R person, you know, thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. I love your work with Beyonce. I so believe this song could be of use and of something like that, you know, not the best. There's better ways to write a pitch letter, but I'm being brief here. But I go direct to the A&R person now. How do I find those A&R people, right? Do you want to know, if you want to know how to find those people, we use the internet. There's a directory called the A&R Registry that's put out by the Music Business Registry Company, and it's called the A&R Guide and the A&R Registry, and it comes out quarterly. You can subscribe to that. It lists like every A&R guys and girls' phone numbers, emails, addresses to send to them. It comes out quarterly because A&R people change jobs and get fired all the time. Whereas there's actually a film and TV guide, and that comes out yearly because the music supervisors are much more stable and they don't lose their jobs every 5 minutes, but A&R people do. So you can find directories of managers. The Polestar, it's called Polestar, puts out a management directory. You can find information about the artists you want to pitch with by looking on the internet, right? We used to be able to read it on a label, on a CD, but now we have to search a little bit, find out who represents them. But we can find those out and we're just sending to them directly. So I did that. And sometimes when I have a new song, I won't target it. I'll just send it to the music supervisors and to the A&R people individually, never bulk. Everybody here never want to send bulk, just have a new song and send it without writing. But I write, you know, Dear Argentina, right? Dear DeMario, Dear Ben, everyone personalized, okay? And I'm pitching them, and I've gotten all my cuts with artists that way, sending them a new song. Just, okay, I have a new song. There's 900 A&R people on my mailing list. So pitch by pitch by pitch, I'm sending the new song to everybody. They may have an artist, they may not have an artist for it. So it's actually very similar, except that for synchronization, we're pitching for music supervisors, as opposed to pitching to A&R people. So yeah, and the cool thing about pitching for artists is that less people do it these days because everybody's so sync freaked, you know, needing to do sync, because synchronization is more lucrative. So everybody wants to do synchronization, but at the same point, the artists are kind of being neglected. The A&R people are not being pitched to. So it's kind of a good time to pitch to A&R. You know, there are opportunities to be had. And even if they don't, let's say, use your song, if they hear something amazing in the work you sent, they'll connect you with an awesome producer or awesome, you know, artist that is doing a new album and needs co-writes. And that happens all the time. So does that help answer the question?
That helped a lot. Yes, it does. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And just remember, there's possibility, right?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, exactly. We just have to try. Exactly. Yeah, cool. Anybody else? Any questions? Did somebody say something?
We have Eric Smith.
Sure.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, well, can I turn my camera on real quick?
Cool, yeah, because I don't see you. Oh, okay, I see you now. You have Writing Sessions America. That's so cool behind you. Great. Hello.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you and a pleasure to meet you. My question is, I'm a bass player, so I've played bass for myself and for other artists. But for the most part, when I'm asked to come to the studio to play, I play what they ask. But what if I were to create, say, for example, there may be a part going into the hook that I think that a nice little extra riff would be if I ask the person, can I put this riff in there? Would I own part of that riff that I created that was not, that I introduced to them? And if so, how would I go about putting my name on it?
I'm loving these questions. You guys have great questions, questions that don't usually cut up. They're awesome. So, okay, no, you do not. You do not. I'm hiring you, let's say, to work on my song, right? And I hire bass players, and this is work for hire. Before I hire you, I'm trying to find you here. Before I hire you, I'm going to give you paperwork up front that says, this is work for hire. I'm hiring you. Your job as the bass player is to create and improvise, right? My job as the creator is to give you the template, but it's not to play the bass lick. It's not to sing you the bass lick. Now, I might sing you the bass lick because I hear something, but that's not my job. My job is I'm hiring you for your amazing skills and expertise to execute and riff and come up with something to improvise. And so, no, you do not get a share of that. That is not writing, and that is not publishing. That's arranging. And arranging is an awesome skill, but arranging is for hire. It is not something. Now, let's look the other way. If you give me a track to write to, where you've played the bass, right? You give me the bass, you've given me some drums, I sing to this, right? I write a melody and lyric to your bass part. Okay, now you're a writer. Because you came first, you inspired what I'm writing to create to you, and we are collaborating on a song together. Yes, then you are a songwriter. But no, if my song is done and I'm hiring you to play bass, I'm hiring you to play bass, work for hire. You don't get a piece for that. And if I'm hiring you to play bass and you don't come up with anything yourself that's interesting, I am not hiring you again. Because your job is to provide the cool bass part that you're coming up with.
My job is to make it funky.
Your job is to make it funky, exactly. And so if you're making it funky, and I love it, I'm going to recommend you to 55 people, and your words, and you're going to become like Leland Sklar is a famous bass player, and be hired on everything and make tons of money. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah. So I hope that makes sense. And it's such a good question. And everybody know here that Eric is a great bass player, and hire him.
Hey, Eric Smith. Social media, Eric Epitome Smith. Holla at me. LinkedIn too.
That's great. Gypsy, you guys should do that. Someone was talking about that on another webinar I was on today, was, creating a database of everybody who has services at WSA who might be for hire, for singing, for bass playing, for programming, for whatever. It'd be maybe you have that already, but it would be a great database.
Yes, we need to publish it more.
Oh, if you have one, I want it. That's really awesome.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
We want to be respectful of your time.
Oh, me? I don't care. I'll go all night until you want to stop. I'm here. I'm here to help.
Oh, we do have 4 more questions. So if you want to cut it off after the 4, we can. But we're at the end of the time that we asked you to share with us.
That's okay. So, it's like me in class. Gypsy's in my class. I just go till people are done. It's fine.
All right, Disney.
It's fine.
Yay. I have a question. Thank you again. Thank you again for coming and sharing all this knowledge with us.
I called Disney. Sorry, Kuzi.
Oh, I thought you said Kuzi.
No, can you give Disney a chance?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So I will be back. Who do we have?
Hello, I'm Disney. How are you?
Oh my God, what a great name. How are you?
I have a question for you. Who would you say I know like a lot of songs are made up of the composition side and the songwriting side, but who would you say would look for like more compositions? Like, is it film, movies?
I'm not sure I understand that, because composition is writing. I don't know what you mean.
Well, you know how they just have like a lot of movies have music only in certain scenes.
Well, that's score. That's not composition. So that's score, called score. Yeah.
Okay. Who would you say look for that the most? Scoring.
Well, okay, so score is done by composers. Do you do scoring? Are you a serious composer? Like
No.
orchestral composer?
No, but I manage someone who does.
Okay, great. So that's perfect. So if you are managing someone or anybody here is doing composition, is an actual composer doing score for films and TV shows, those people get hired directly by the directors for a film and by the showrunners and producers for the TV shows. Occasionally, a music supervisor will hire or be involved in hiring a composer, but rarely. They're usually hired at the beginning of the production. And so you would want to be pitching to other people than most of us here. You would want to be pitching to directors and to showrunners and producers of these projects. So now on a TV show, the director usually changes every episode. So the director is not someone you pitch to for this, but on a TV show, for them, you pitch to the producers of the show and to the showrunners. But on a film, the director is the creative person. It's sort of switched, and the producers really just do like counting and finding locations and stuff. So you want to pitch to the director. So I actually have someone who's in my other class. She just left a little while ago. She was here, who she reps a composer. I wish she was still here. She is amazing. She gets to all these directors. She uses IMDb. If you've heard of that, it was discussed a little today, IMDb. The pro version, the free version is useless. You want the pro version where it has contact information and information. And you want to be searching on the internet and searching on LinkedIn and making connections with these people, these powers that be who hire composers, definitely. And it's possible, possible. And if your composer does any kind of score that involves any kind of hip hop music, you will probably make many friends quickly. Because once again, that is so hard to find. A serious like orchestral composer that can incorporate elements of R&B and hip hop into a score. I think you'll do really, really well.
Okay.
Does that help? You're welcome.
Yeah.
Next
Cool.
we have Carla.
Hey, Carla. Nice.
Hi, Michelle. Great to meet you. I apologize. I'm in my car. I just got off work. But I just have a quick question. So kind of along the lines of the work for hire situation. Let's say you were hired to create a jingle, and I'll use the McDonald's jingle as an example. So like you said, you were hired for that and that only. But let's say that parts of that jingle get used for an actual record later, much like the McDonald's jingles was with Justin Timberlake. Would you still get, royalties and credit on that record that was created from it, even though you just were hired for it to just make the jingle part of it?
All right, so that's a really good question. I love that question, and I've never been asked this question specifically, and I love it. So basically, and you bring up the other side of work for hire, because there's two sides of work for hire really for all of us in music. The first side being we're hiring musicians, or we're being hired as musicians and singers, and we're doing work for hire with the composer because we're being hired. The other way is we are the composer and a company is hiring us, like you're saying, to create work for hire for the jingle. So now if you create work for hire, it's usually they own it. Usually you get the writer's share. So you still retain half the royalty situation, but they own it. Okay? Now, not all ads are work for hire. Some are not. But if you're actually being hired to create the music for the McDonald's commercial, then yeah, it's going to be work for hire. But the good part of that is that you're going to keep your writer's share. If you don't keep your writer's share, you don't want to take the gig because it's really unethical and pretty awful. You don't want it to not allow you to keep the writer's share. Now, you do not control the copyright anymore because it's work for hire and they own it. However, if your song does get used for some other platform, like let's say, using Beyonce again, she heard the McDonald's commercial and she loved it so much she really wanted to put it out on her record as an artist, right? That could totally, totally happen. So now you would get the writer's share of the royalties. Definitely. there is no upfront fee for her to record because it doesn't work that way for songs that are recorded by artists. We don't get paid upfront, like there's no synchronization fee. So we are only getting the royalties, but you would still get half the royalties because you would get your writer's share of royalties, and the ad agency or McDonald's, whoever hired you to do that jingle, will own the publishing and they'll get the publishing. So does that make sense?
It does. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And it could totally happen. There's no reason. And it actually has happened in the world. Like, if you all remember, I don't know if you remember this, maybe you're all too young, but there was I Like to Teach the World to Sing. And it was, right? Okay, so that was a jingle. That was a jingle. And then it became a huge hit on the radio and it was covered 1 million times, right? So it totally can happen. That's a great question. Loved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question we have is from Jackie.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for your time tonight and today, all day.
You're so welcome.
When you were talking about, when you're talking to Eric, the bassist, about the work that he was doing, work for hire, I guess a derivative of that is, say a producer sends me a track and I write a song, melody and whatnot to the track. And the producer doesn't like the track. It doesn't work for what he wants to do with it. So he doesn't use it. But if I take the lyrics melody that I used, create it based on that producer's track and use it on another track unrelated to him, someone else, or I create something of my own, does that producer now get a part of the writing credits or the split sheet for this new song that I'm working on?
Yeah, so I totally understand it and I totally get it. And actually, I do not write to tracks anymore because of your question. And so never, I haven't written to a track in 20 years. I used to, I do not. Now, what you need to do up front is negotiate up front with this lovely track person who's giving the track to 20 people. It's so irritating that if he does not use your melody and lyric and doesn't like it and discards it, whatever, right? You get it back with him getting nothing. And you should discuss that up front and not write with him if he does not agree to that or she does not agree with that, because this person is not cool. Me, if I'm going to write to a track, it's going to be for me exclusively, to even consider it. And so because of what's happening, like you're saying, and that happens every single day, you want to be able to take your melody and lyric and go either put a new track to it, bring it to someone else to co-write with it, whatever you want. You should be able to own that. But if you don't negotiate that up front, then you're in trouble. Because then that track inspired your melody and lyric and forever ties it to that track, right? Which is not really fair if they don't use it. And you just get this useless melody and lyric that you put your heart into and wrote something really great to, right?
It's kind of dope, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it happened to me. I wrote to this very famous writing team in Denmark, and I went to Denmark and I brought it to them and I thought it was dope and they hated it. And I was like, well, you have to give me my melody and lyric back. And I didn't even do this up front, which I should have done. But they went, we hate it. It's fine. You can have it. That song became a #1 hit for Nick Carter of the Backstreet Boys all over the world. Those two writers actually called me to congratulate me because it was #1 in Denmark for weeks and weeks and weeks. Okay? They do not know to this day that was their song. I have never told them that.
Wow.
But that's what I'm saying to you. Because just because they don't like it could be good. You like it. You made it. So I believe that we should discuss all of this stuff up front. That's how I learned to do that, you know, and happening many times where people would say, I don't like that. Well, no. That's just not okay. So, yeah, so in my opinion, you should negotiate that up front. Most of the time, these guys will say fine because they don't think none of these people, it's like the PROs I was talking about, none of these people think we're ever going to do anything for some reason. They're kind of dismissive. They're kind of like, sure, write to my track. They're not kind of thinking we might have a hit. You know, I don't know why they're not thinking like that. So do it up front. Usually they're probably going to say to you, sure, I don't care. I don't want it. If I don't choose it, I didn't want it.
Do you have to have it in writing in order
Yes.
for it to be valid, or?
In writing. These, like, 40 years ago, we didn't have to have stuff in writing. People didn't have to do nasty stuff to people. Now, people are like little urchins. And if you don't have it in writing, okay, he's going to come in after you saying, I don't have any paperwork. Do you see any paperwork? I don't see any paperwork. You just had a hit song. You wrote that to my track. Mine. Right? So these days, everybody's running out of the woodwork. So you need to have paperwork. Plus, if you can't really pitch the song, because if you pitch it for synchronization and these people go to the music supervisor because they heard the melody and the lyric on a TV show and they went, wait a minute, that sounds really familiar. I think that was written to my track. Hey, where's mine? Right? So
Well, they'd be owed then if he did that.
he'd be owed like half the song because you wrote to his track. So you wrote the melody and lyric, he wrote the track, 50-50, there you go.
Wow.
He wrote the music.
Even though we didn't use it. Wow.
Yeah, definitely, because he inspired what you wrote, just like we were talking before about writing to tracks or writing to beats, right? If Eric, the bass player, you write to his bass part, he's a songwriter now. You know, you were inspired by that. That's what you wrote to. That's part of it, you know? So it doesn't work the other way. You know, if a track comes afterwards, the song is existing, but this is how the song got created. And so I do advise you to do this, not even write with someone who won't agree. You know, they should have to agree. And let's say for one, if it happened to you in the past and they won't agree after the fact, then you can still go and hire a producer and make a new master, right? But you would have to split the writing and publishing with the original track guy, even though now you have a new track and a new master. But you can still do that. He can't really prevent you from doing that. But if you don't want him to have ownership of the song, then you would need to discuss up front before you wrote.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question we have is from Deborah.
Cool.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can, yay.
Yay. Sorry, I was having some technical issues earlier.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. One is, if you have a producer that you hire as a work for hire, is there such thing as a template online anywhere agreement, work for hire agreement?
Yeah, I have one. I got mine from a music library that I work with. Happy to share it. Just send me an email.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have I have a couple other quick questions. One is, when you copyright a song as a writer, but you own the master because you're not the artist, is it better to copyright it as a on the PA form or on the SR form? My question being, does the SR form also cover you for your writing?
That's a good question too. So first of all, just because someone is the artist does not mean they own the master. So if I work with an artist and I produce them and everything is free to them and I, use my expertise and my time and I pay for everything, I own the master. The artist does not own the master. So not necessarily does the artist own the master. That said, Deborah, if the artist does own the master for some reason, okay, but you're the writer, right? Then, my train of thought just stopped. What did you ask me?
Actually, what I asked is, I wrote the song. I own the master because I'm just
you own the master.
Okay. Artist. I own the master. I own the song. When I go to copyright it on the copyright website, do I use the PA form, which is obvious because then I'm protected as a writer, or does the SR form cover my master recording as well as my rights as the writer?
Got it. Sorry, my brain stopped. Yes, musician moment. So the SR only covers the sound recording.
Okay.
Because every sound recording can be different, like your composition, which is for the PA form, right? You could have 5,000 new sound recordings for that PA.
So with my demo, whenever I get a new demo, I should never do the sound recording. Because I might pitch that demo quote / sound recording for Sing, you know. So
I never copyright anything, to tell you the truth. I never fill out the copyright forms at all.
Yeah.
It's not necessary, but if you do both, the PA form
things, right?
Say that again. Yeah, you have to pay 2 fees. The PA forms for this copyright, it's for the writer, which is called the author on the PA form.
Right.
The sound recording is for the sound recording. It's only for the sound recording, the master that you are using and pitching. And again, if you rearrange the song, you have a new sound recording. Then you want a new SR to protect your sound recording if you are filling out copyrights.
So the first thing I would want to do, even though I own the master that I'm pitching for film TV, would be to do the PR form and not worry about the SR form.
I don't think you need to. I don't even do the PA form. The only thing that copyrights help with are legal fees. Mm-hmm. So let's say that I come to you and I have a litigious copyright infringement lawsuit against you, and I say, hey, Deborah, you stole my song, right? Mm-hmm. I could be the UPS guy. I'm not even a songwriter, but I'm like, Deborah, that was my song. I'm suing you. Lawsuit.
Right.
Copyright doesn't help you at all. Because a song is copywritten the moment it is created. You fill out those forms till the cows come home, but it is not going to stop you from being sued. You're still either going to have to go to court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or pay that yucky idiot, $25,000, $50,000 to go away. The only thing you're going to be able to recover is if you do go to court, are your legal fees by having an existing copyright. So if I were starting out now and didn't have thousands of songs that I would need to copyright, I would copyright them, sure. One by one, the sound recording, the PA, yeah, sure, probably. But I never have. And that's the only thing that it protects. So it's not going to stop you from being sued. It doesn't matter.
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Of course.
Okay, so a number of years ago, I wrote a song with a Nashville signed songwriter who was signed to Olay Publishing. He's no longer signed with them, but he was at the time, and I guess whatever he wrote, he would send in to them. The song has been on everybody's computers for 8 years. Nobody remembered it. I happened to run across it recently, and I thought, wow, what a nice song. This would actually be perfect for film TV. It's very simple kind of thing. But I know with film TV, you have to clear things very quickly, and they're a publishing company that doesn't even know they have the song, but obviously they own 25% of the song.
Major publisher?
Well, Olay Publishing, which is
Olay, that's pretty major. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So is it worth it to me to spend money on a demo? Because how can I pitch for film TV? I can only then really pitch for artists, but I hate to lose the song because it's a good song. So
you have to first of all contact Olay. Yeah. You have to tell them the song exists. You have to discuss with them, will they let you pitch it one stop? And if they don't, then you have to disclose in your pitch, my co-writer is published by Olay. Like I pitched a song I wrote with somebody last week, for a specific thing, but my co-writer was an EMI writer. And I just wrote to the music supervisor up front, I want to send you this. I think it could work, but just so you know, it's co-published by EMI.
And what happened with it?
He said, thank you. I don't know if they're going to use it, but he thanked me for it. Didn't have a problem, because sometimes he might have a problem, but this was for an ad, so he probably had money. So, you know what I'm saying? It depends. They might write you back and say, oh, no major publishers, or they might be okay. But if you don't disclose it up front, then you are really putting yourself at harm's way.
What can I do? What can I do to ask to contact Olay and say, what would I need from them for them to say, yes, you can pitch it one stop?
Just that. You just call up or send an email, go on LinkedIn, find who's ever at Olay that you could talk to, who does film and TV, and write them. Simple, grassroots.
And do I need a paper, an official piece of paper where they sign something, giving me proof?
Yes, and you want them to generate it. So you just ask them to generate some paperwork. Yes. The chances of them saying yes are minuscule, Deborah.
Right.
Minuscule.
So
Yes.
so then
And
what
I'm not
happens to
sure
my
if
song then?
David Weitzman is still there, Whitey. But if David Weitzman is there, that's who you'd want to write. He's super nice.
So
And-
then
and
if
you
they
could
don't
give it a
allow
try.
that because they want to be the ones to collect the money, even though I own 50% and the writer
Well,
owns
they're not going to
25%.
collect your money. They want to do the paperwork on their side and collect the money on their side. They're not trying to collect your money.
So it's basically pretty complicated for me to pitch it for film, TV, and I probably shouldn't waste money making a demo out of it.
Again, write David, ask them up front. If not, you can make the demo, but you'd need to disclose with every pitch
Okay.
that they have, it is co-published by Olay. So
Okay.
you can do it and you can spend the money and you can own the master, because if you're paying for it yourself, you can own the master. And you should do a little digging too to make sure that that writer is still published by Olay, because it's
He's not
possible.
published by Olay anymore.
Oh, well then he could have gotten the song back. It could have reverted to him. Why are you so certain that Olay publishes it?
Because I think at the time he just sent the songs to all the songs he wrote, he would send to Olay, and they own the publishing.
Do you see the song in his PRO account? Did you look?
I'd have to check and see. I know I probably registered it back then on ASCAP, but he's BMI.
It doesn't matter. You have just check the registration first, because if it's not registered to Olay, then it might not be totally fine. Like I found some songs recently that weren't never registered by the major publishers. They should have been, but they weren't. So I registered them to me and my publishing company. You know, you have to do some research.
So if they never published, registered it, which they probably didn't, that doesn't mean that they still don't own the publishing.
Yeah, it does. They never registered it. They didn't claim it. They don't know the song exists. No problem.
Okay. All right.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they never claimed it. Maybe they didn't like it. Maybe they didn't take it. Maybe his songs reverted back to him. I had 77 songs from a publishing deal from Universal revert back to me.
No, I had asked him and he said that they own the publishing. Then he never got back to me when I asked him any follow-up questions.
Well, then do a little research yourself. See if it's.
If they never registered it on BMI or ASCAP under Olay, then I can claim it. They can.
You can but it would be registered under Olay if Olay is claiming it.
Okay.
So you need to do some research. And again, you just write them or call them on the telephone and discuss with them. You never know.
Okay.
And again, you can still pitch the song by disclosing. It's like we were discussing before, if you have samples in your song, you can still pitch them, but you got to disclose there are samples in here. There are samples from Splice in here. There's publishing encumberment here. There's a major label, Olay co-publishes this. That's all you have to do. Sometimes they care, sometimes they don't care. If it's a film, you might have better luck than a TV show, because a film that needs to clear it in 5 seconds is not going to dabble in that.
Right. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Cool. Do you still have a question?
Yeah, I do.
All right, last one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you spoke about earlier how, bro, who, I'm sure you wouldn't have hired him if he wasn't strong with his craft and with his, with his horns. I'm imagining how the industry has been running for the past, few decades. Seeing the rise of, what creative people can actually do, and the way that those who had the mind and had the business, to understand how to, make it work into something, working reality, I guess. I imagine moving forward, because we failed to do this.
What's the question? I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. What is the likelihood of being able to write in royalties for musicians, the ones who play the keys, the one who you hired in just the same way labels pay for artists and then pay them on the back end, you know, depending
Okay,
on
this
how.
is how you do that, right?
Okay,
So
cool.
you have to register the song at Sound Exchange, okay? And you're the artist, but you want to pay your musicians? Is that what you're saying? You want to give them
Yes.
a share of the royalties. That's very nice of you. So you register the songs at soundexchange.com, okay? And then you have to do what's called a letter of direction. And the letter of direction allows you, the artist, to allocate percentages of your royalties to the musicians. So you have to they have a special form called a letter of direction, and you fill that out, give them the information, the player's information, and then they will send that share to you. So for instance, if you have 100% of the artist's royalties coming to you, you can give 10% to the drummer and 10% to the keyboard player. These royalties are not royalties from the performing rights organization. They're not your writer's royalties. These are your royalties as the artist and master owner.
Okay, cool.
You understand?
Yes, I do. And I think that's one of the talking points that the writers community and also the engineering and the production community have been speaking on. Is,
right, they've
writing.
been speaking on that for decades. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So
because
if
in
I could
America,
imagine.
well, let me just tell everyone so they understand. In America, the producers, the background singers do not get paid from radio. Radio meaning terrestrial radio, which is AM, FM radio. Streaming is a different story. Sound Exchange is paying those people for streaming. For the radio, you still cannot get paid that money in America. It does not exist, that royalty. Only the writers and publishers get paid on the radio. And yes, it sucks. I mean, my husband produced David Bowie, and every time they play David Bowie all day long, his hit songs, he doesn't make any royalties for that. So it totally sucks, and I agree with you.
So the question was, what is the likelihood of being able to put that in place for the new music industry?
That has been struggling for decades. It's been denied for decades. It goes to court constantly, and constantly the broadcasters vote it down. So
oh my God.
Outside of America, that royalty does exist. So if you create a song and you're a German national, you're going to get royalties. The artist is going to get it. The producer is going to get those radio royalties. But because America doesn't allow that, it's not reciprocal. So therefore, as an American who created something in Germany, you won't get those royalties because it's not reciprocal. Because they feel that if America doesn't want to pay our people for the producing and the singing and all of that on the radio, we don't want to pay them. So your money in Germany ends up in a black box. Like my husband's producer money, and when they play David Bowie all day in Germany, ends up in a black box that goes to the biggest earners at the PRO there, GEMA. And he does not get any of that money.
Unless you make a relationship with someone in that region and open a business with them.
No,
not even that.
Not even that, because he's American.
That's ridiculous.
He's American, and so those royalties are not reciprocal. Yeah, so it's ridiculous. That's why Sound Exchange is really great. That's why also there's a thing called neighboring rights. And there's some ways that the artists, the master owners, the musicians can get paid for neighboring rights outside of the US. And you would join a neighboring rights organization similar to a performing rights organization, similar. But the neighboring rights organizations only pay the artists and the musicians. They do not pay producers. Only artists, musicians, master owners. So you can't still, as the producer, you're screwed. You still cannot get those royalties, right? But you can at least join one of those, like for instance, okay, so my husband played saxophone on Fame. So he could get his neighboring rights for his saxophone playing, but they won't pay him for his production. So it's still cool to sign with those organizations if you have a lot of music out there to try to get those royalties. But if you don't have a lot of music out there, they won't even sign you to try to get it. So basically, it's a big mess.
That sounds like a lot of CSAC, but thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate your
welcome.
wisdom.
You're welcome. And it's not wisdom, it's just fact.
I mean, you live this, so it must mean something, you know?
Well, yeah, for sure. It means something to me, definitely, you know, but I feel that it means the same thing it means to you. It's incorrect. It's not fair. There's nothing nice about it, but it is what it is. And we keep fighting, you know, songwriters are always fighting for their rights.
Let's do the work.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right.
That was the last question. Thank you so much, Michelle. We went 30 minutes more than we actually asked for, but we so appreciate you and everything that you've shared.
You're so welcome. And I see there's stuff in the chat. So if anybody had any questions that were in the chat that didn't get asked or attended to, you're welcome to send me an email for sure. Thank you, Gypsy and Kevin.
We'll put that back in the chat so they have it recent.
Yeah.
Email.
Amazing organization. And I just love the questions that have come because they're not the usual questions I get. And so that was really fun for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope it was helpful.
Perfect. Well, we're going to close out this session. I will let you stop the recording when you're ready. Thank you all for joining us. Writing Sessions America members have a schedule for the other events that are happening for the conference. So Icon Awards is coming up at 8 o'clock, and you have the link on your schedule. But thanks to all the guests who joined us as well. We enjoyed having you. Hope that your questions that you didn't come on to ask were also answered. And Michelle, it was just so much information. Thanks again. We can't thank you.
You're so welcome, Gypsy. It was so fun. Thank you for having me. See you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're so welcome. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Thank you. Thank you. And you're welcome to stay in touch. Definitely welcome to stay in touch. Okay.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.